Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Jaya Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivajacharya Ashtadhya Sadishla A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavrinda ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Prem se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Gita Govardhan Ki Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Maya Ki Yamuna Maya Ki Tulsi Deva Ki Bhakti Deva Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Lochatanya's Harinam Sankirtan Prihat Madanga Ki Sri Prabhupada Ki Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Sri Sri Panchatattva Ki Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Shabhadra Ki Sri Sri Radhamadhava Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Sanyavadi Pastachari Shatarine. Hare Krishna. Let me bring this table closer, please. Without scratching, without making that horrible noise. That's okay. Hare Krishna. Good morning, everybody. Auspicious day. When did the new lotus stands come? For the deities. When did they arrive? I didn't notice them yesterday. Pardon? Yeah, under Madhava. I don't know about Radharani, but I see Madhava is now standing on a beautiful lotus stand. Huh? No, they weren't there during the Abhishek. They weren't there when they came here. They weren't there on Monday. So I didn't notice yesterday. They weren't ready for the move. They came in the last day or two. Any pujaris here? No, not now. We'll just find out later. You may have noticed them. They had styrofoam stands, wooden and styrofoam stands on Saturday and Sunday. And now they have nice marble lotus, which they're standing on. Very nice. So I don't know, I can't remember. This microphone is very unreliable, coming and going. Okay, we're going to finish the chapter today. There's only a little purport in the remaining, maybe 7 verses. I think we're on text 54 today. We went up to 53 yesterday. So text 54. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
There's a quick question, Harinamananda Prabhu. I assume you have no socket over here to connect the main microphone, is that right? You know, there's a microphone which has a wire on it. Do you know those type of microphones? Which you plug into the wall, and they're very reliable. These ones are very convenient, but not very reliable. I don't know if we have a plug over here. There's probably one over there. There is a plug, so that would be a far better choice. You can take it around the back of the asana if it's at all possible. So it doesn't kind of go over here. But it's quite a long verse, there's many verses which we're going to read today. So You can repeat once if you want. Disya Griha Ishvari Mai Tvaya Teta Anubhitihi Bhava Mochini Kalai Suduskara Aso Sutaram Durashishaha Hi Asum Bharaya Nikritim Tushaha Striyaha. In due course of time, we're hopeful the verse will be on the board, on the screen, and it'll make life a little easier for everyone. But I'll just read it through since it's a long verse. Jisya Viheshvaya Sakrinmai Tvaya Tvitanavite Bhavamochani Kalai Suduskaraso Sutavandarashisho Yasumbaraya Nikritindu Shakstriyaha. Word for word. Dishya, fortunately, Griha, of the house, Ishvari, O mistress, Asakrit, constantly, Mai, to me, Tvaya, by you, Krita, done, Anuvitihi, faithful service, Bhava, from material existence, Mochani, which gives liberation, Kalaihi, for those who are envious, Suduskara, very difficult to do, Aso, it, Tutaram, especially, Durashishaha, whose intentions are wicked. He, indeed, Asum, her life here, Varayaha, who only maintains, Nikritim, deception, Trushaha, who indulges in, Striyaha, for a woman. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Fortunately, O mistress of the house, you have always rendered me faithful devotional service which liberates one from material existence. This service is very difficult for the envious to perform, especially for a woman whose intentions are wicked, who lives only to gratify her bodily demands, and who indulges in duplicity. A continuation, there's a conversation for those who've not been here. It's a little unreliable, I don't know what's happening. Up and down. Fortunately, O mistress of the house, so it's Krishna addressing Rukmini. And as you may be aware, this chapter is called Krishna Teases Rukmini. This is all Krishna's pastimes. It's all part of the exchanges, the various types of bhavas, ecstasies in loving exchange. In this particular case, Krishna is desiring to see an aspect of Rukmini which he's not seen, which is her anger. He wants to see her furrowed eyebrows and her, mouth in a different way, and he's hoping she'll produce angry words. But she doesn't. She doesn't have it within her. Her constitution is not like that. Her reaction, Krishna's words, which were devastating in one sense. As you may know, Krishna was trying to convince her that he was not a qualified husband. She made a big mistake. She's a very qualified girl, and he's a very unqualified black man. She's a beautiful, fair maiden, and he's an unqualified black man. He says like this. May all these kings, you made a big mistake choosing me. You could have chosen one of the very rich, qualified kings. I'm a beggar. My parents are poverty-stricken. You made a big man. I'm hiding on an island in the ocean. I'm afraid of them all. Don't you understand? You made a big mistake marrying me. You're welcome. Go away. Find a decent husband. He's speaking to her like this, you know. So, you know, Krishna has his various expansions, and of course we all have some inkling of an idea of this, only an inkling. And Radharani being his compassionate expansion, his loving expansion. And her expansions are of various kinds to enhance the pleasure of Krishna. So she expands in many ways, and one of her expansions is Chandravali. Has a very different mood to Radharani. It's her first expansion. And Chandravali, she's completely submissive, and Dakshina, was it the other one? Radharani is jealous anger. Bhama, I think. And then Dakshina is just totally submissive. They cannot conjure up anger towards their beloved. It doesn't exist in them. It's just not there. They completely collapse when there's a cause for anger, in one sense. So Rukmini being the expansion of Chandravali in Dwarka Lila, so she doesn't have that. Satyabhama does, because she's the expansion of Radha. So like that, the response of Rukmini was completely, she was devastated. She just went pale, lost her voice, and just collapsed, fainted, literally. The very thought of anything but submissive service to Krishna was completely, wasn't possible for her to contain it. Jai Radhamadhava. So Krishna, seeing that he couldn't conjure up this anger in her. It just didn't come. So knowing it, therefore he responded to her in a very loving way and a very kind way, and recovered her. It's another form of ecstasy, although from the material point of view it may not seem as such. It is another form of the blissful loving exchanges, fainting, pallor, the body pallor, and so on and so forth, devastation. These are various forms of ecstatic symptoms, which in the material world, of course, are fearful and negative. But in relationship with Krishna, they're very a different taste. It's like a very, what can we say? We're not on that level. So then Krishna kind of consoled her, and then we heard the other day how Rukmini actually said, your words are all actually true, I'm not qualified, and this and that. And now Krishna's speaking again here. Fortunately, O mistress of the house, you have always rendered me faithful devotional service, which liberates one from material existence. So Krishna's teaching many things. One, the nature of the love of Rukmini, and the importance of chastity for women in general, and Hare Krishna, satisfying his devotees, and here teaching also the path of liberation from material existence. As we discussed this yesterday, the chastity of Rukmini in relationship with the faithfulness, the chastity of a disciple through thick and thin, comparison is there between husband and wife and disciple and guru. That they never leave, no matter what the difficulty, even if they're chastised, even if the situation is materially incompatible, unbearable, almost. They never leave the service of their Lord. This is practically speaking, the pivot of success in spiritual life, practically. Due to our conditional nature, we do have a tendency to have doubts of our faith is not so strong. But real devotional service is complete faith, unflinching faith in the order of the spiritual master. This is Srila Prabhupada's basic inspiration, strength, initiative for spreading Krishna consciousness based on the order of his Guru Maharaj and the statements of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in this regards. That the spiritual master's instruction is my sadhana, my only sadhana, and my sadhya. The instruction of my spiritual master. That's all that matters to me, he says. Whether I go to heaven or hell, I don't mind. My Guru Maharaj's instructions are my life and soul. It's the mood of a faithful devotee, one who's gone beyond the neophyte platform, you could say. A neophyte tries to follow such a devotee and gradually if you're sincere, gradually this realization will come and this dedication will come. Jiva Goswami of Prabhupada goes on, this service is very difficult for the envious to perform, especially for a woman whose intentions are wicked. So, that means a duplicitous woman, a woman who is thinking of another lover, other than her husband, which happens only too often. Who lives only to gratify her bodily demands and who indulges in duplicity. We see in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, Krishna says this Bhagavad Gita may not be explained to those who are envious, those who are not engaged in devotional service. Well, not explained, but they cannot actually understand it. We don't generally preach the glories of the holy name to the faithless, so they cannot digest it. Of course, in the course of one's endeavors to spread Krishna consciousness, most of the people that we approach or try to distribute the knowledge to are definitely not engaged in devotional service, at least up to that point. And they may well be envious also. To some degree, everyone's envious. Devotees, we also are, to some degree, possessing envy and duplicity, and we're not really surrendered to devotional service. We have our conditions, our limits, which we put there. So in that sense, the Bhagavad Gita is not really explained to us. Some element is there, and whatever degree it is, according to our surrender, Krishna reveals himself accordingly. So the Bhagavad Gita is not just a book of words. Anyone can read the book of words, but it's actually the heart of Krishna, the will of Krishna, which is revealed as one surrenders unto him. Otherwise it remains some philosophical, speculative, theoretical knowledge of some kind. which we may apply materially speaking. Some of the tenets of the Gita are utilized for material purposes. But the real purpose of the Bhagavad Gita eludes people. They don't gather it, and sometimes we don't gather it either. The instruction of the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita gives that conclusive. As Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, that, the instruction of the spiritual master to always hear and chant about Krishna is my life and soul. So in the Bhagavad Gita we also see the conclusive statement of Krishna that we should always remember him, worship him, pay our homage unto him, and so on. Mamana bhava mad bhakto is the objective. That's the fruit of the Bhagavad Gita. If we don't reach that fruit, we have really understood the Bhagavad Gita. To be absorbed in Krishna. Theoretically we may say that, but in reality we haven't realized it. So we will not get the effects of Sanjaya. We're here standing on end and being thrilled at every moment, etc., etc., because we haven't fully accepted the words of Krishna. We're still very much, let's say, like spectators. Prabhupada writes, not Prabhupada, it's just a commentary by Srila Prabhupada. Some of his disciples have compiled these purports. Srila Jiva Goswami poses the following question. Since devotional service easily awards one liberation, isn't it possible that everyone will be liberated and the world will no longer exist? The great Acharya answers, there is no such danger, don't worry. Prabhupada answered the same thing. Somebody said, if everyone takes to Krishna consciousness, then the material world will come to an end. And Prabhupada said, yes, very good. That's our target, to bring it to an end. But don't worry, everyone's not going to take to devotional service. And even if they do, Lord Chaitanya says, that even if everyone's liberated, there's unlimited jivas who will fill up the universe immediately. There's no question of it being vacant, don't worry. If you're worried about, your skyscrapers being empty, don't worry, there'll always be someone coming along to move in. Even if all the present residents go back to Godhead, there'll be more moving in, don't worry. So the same thing here. So it's very difficult. Most people are envious, duplicitous, sensuous. Who in the material world is not sensuous? I mean, you could say maybe Lord Brahma, but even he apparently became attracted to his daughter Vak with an intention of enjoying. So this is, throughout the whole universe, this is the nature of this world is based on this principle of lust, which is, of course, a manifest. You can say the result of being envious of Krishna. So everyone's envious of Krishna. The very desire of enjoying that which belongs to Krishna is envy. We call it lust because we've forgotten Krishna, but in relationship with Krishna is envy. If you want to enjoy someone else's property, that's basically envy. Whether it's meat eating or whatever. Because we want to enjoy the body of the animal. Drink its blood. Envy. The great Acharya says there's no danger of such a thing that the material world. Of course, there's the pralaya when the universe is destroyed at a set time, but it's not come to an end. It's just a matter of. It's like, can you breathe or not? Well, when you're breathing, you say yes, and when you're not, you're holding your breath. You say you're not breathing. So, but breathing, you are breathing. The universe comes in and comes out again according to the cycle of time. But it's not like completely wound up. It doesn't exist anymore. It's always there. Either in a manifest or unmanifested form. So to actually gain liberation of different types, but this type of liberation, any kind of liberation depends on the mercy of the Lord. And there has to be a degree of devotional service involved, even for Mayavad philosophy. They have to follow Krishna's instructions somewhere along the line, and perform some kind of activity, which some form of maybe devotional service in the wrong motive, but some form of service has to be there, even for impersonal liberation. Although they don't achieve the spiritual realm exactly, they achieve the Brahmajyoti, the affordance. What to speak of sensuous persons? They can't faithfully serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they have ulterior motives. They have their conditions, which we do. If I start chastising you now, you may well pack your bags and go away. Isn't it? Is it not? If I start calling you a rascal number one, idiot, duplicitous, envious, lusty person, you'll probably pack your bags and go away. If I refuse to serve you prasadam, you probably won't talk to me anymore. We have our conditions. Especially that one is very common amongst beginners in Krishna consciousness. If someone insults you or doesn't recognize you or something like that, you can get quite upset to the point of completely giving up. It's a beginning stage of devotional service. One is very fragile like that. Like a baby, very fragile. So here we see persons who maybe some little sentiment there, but because they're still envious of Krishna, they're hoping that Krishna will, if I worship Krishna, so to speak, I'll get my material desires fulfilled. Or even we're envious of Krishna, I'll become Krishna. Envious. And lusty, I'll get my material desires fulfilled. And duplicitous, we're putting on a show of being a good devotee or something, but inside we're harboring all kinds of wicked desires. There's no shortage of such people in this world. No shortage. It's a shortage of those who are not like that, but there's no shortage of duplicitous, lusty, envious people. It's very difficult to spread Krishna consciousness. You can't spread Krishna consciousness in the real sense of the term, as long as that is a norm. Some piety, some agata sakriti, unknowing connection is there, but to actually practice, you can go so far in conditional devotional service. But that's not the objective, that's not the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's movement, just to give everyone a little. You could say it's certainly good. Prabhupada said that we're trying to plant the seeds, but planting the seeds is not the goal of the farmer. Is it? You have to plant the seeds, it's an absolute necessity. But you can eat certain seeds, but you can't eat seeds only. It's a start. It's a good start. Initiation is like planting the seed. You have to cultivate the seed, don't you? Is it not? What do you think? Do you have to cultivate it or not?
Yes. Cultivate.
You don't get an apple by planting a seed, right? It takes quite a while, in fact. I don't know how many years it takes for a tree to grow to the stage of producing fruit. I don't know. Many years, I guess. But it has to start with a seed, isn't it? I mean, maybe you bring a seedling or already mature, but that also started from a seed. But the seed's not enough. If I say, can you give me an apple, and you just give me an apple seed, will you be happy? Will you be happy? Okay, take a bag of apple seeds, you'll still not be happy. Maybe they're edible, but they're not very palatable, and they're probably not as nutritious as you need either. Maybe something is there. But the seed is only the beginning. The beginning. You have to cultivate it if you want the fruit. If you want the fruit of devotional service, having the seed is not enough. You have to have it. But we have to cultivate the seed. And there will be some problems, some flood. Bugs will come along. Maybe the weather's not good. Maybe something other kind of, problem comes. Some animal comes along and starts eating the seedling or something. All kinds of challenges are there in the world of farming. We have to get the fruit. Ultimately, otherwise we will not. We'll be looking for fruit somewhere else. If we don't get the fruit of bhakti lata bij, the fruit of the seed of devotional service, we'll look for, the fruit of jnana or the fruit of karma. We have to have some taste. We can't. Living entities by nature and under besides looking for pleasure, pleasure seeking. And if we don't get pleasure in Krishna consciousness, then it's natural and we'll look elsewhere. And if we have this idea of Krishna consciousness meant to fulfill all my material desires, which to some extent that may be there, but it won't go very far, because that's not the purpose of Krishna consciousness. And at a certain point in time it will become dry. You no longer feel like you're getting the juice anymore. And then we go away, look somewhere else. Or just resign oneself to being a kind of a half-dead devotee, hanging in there, doing this minimum service and just hanging around. Most of the time just gossiping or doing mundane things, watching movies and this and that. Decaffeinated coffee, they say. Still coffee, just decaffeinated. The taste of the material thing. One has to get the higher taste, Vishaya Vinivartante, Radhamadhava. Without getting that higher taste, we can't get free of the lower taste. That doesn't come just by putting on tilak and shaving the head and running around a little bit. That's part of it, but it's not the end of it. It takes some cultivation. But if you, it's like Prabhupada says, if you're trying to ignite a fire, in this case the fire of bhakti, to Vrena Bhakti Yogena, and we pour water on the fire, what do you expect? If you're trying to ignite it, if you're trying to put it out, of course, you pour paraffin, but if you're trying to, and you pour paraffin, it's not going to work, is it? It's going to ignite it. So if we want to ignite fire, we have to put paraffin, not water. But if we put water on it, material, pouring material things into our lives, whether it's motivations or actions, it's not going to help the Bhakti Lata Bij grow to fruition. It's going to dampen it. You ever try to light a fire and pour water at the same time? Does it work? No. So to a certain extent we're all doing that, of course we are. Lord Chaitanya is very kind, Prabhupada is very kind, at least they're continually giving us a chance, but we're not actually perhaps taking as much of the opportunity as we could, because we're holding on to our envy and our lust and our duplicity and so on and so forth. Something like that. And lust, of course, in the form of material desire, in the form of material activity. I mean, sometimes devotees I've heard, some devotees, they watch mundane movies and things like this. It's like pouring water on the fire. Engaged in mundane activity. Criticizing envious devotees is more than pouring water on the fire. It's like completely extinguishing it practically. These dangers are there on the path, we have to be careful. In the next verse, Krishna says, "In all my palaces I can find no other wife as loving as you." The interesting thing in this sense is that every single... How many wives did Krishna have? 8. Some of you have had or have wife. How many wives have you had or have? Or husbands? Well, the husbands, as we mentioned yesterday, generally the wife only has one husband. A rare exception of those people. How many wives did you have or have?
8,000 or 8,000.
You had 16,000 wives?
Different species living church.
Over many lifetimes, huh? Maybe. But right now, in this lifetime, how many wives have you got? Maybe none. But if you're married, generally people have one. In some religions, some cultures, they have a few more. I don't know what the highest number in the world is, 100 and something, I think. Some sheikh in Arabian country or something. But he can't be with them all at once, can he? Is it possible? You can only be one at a time, or you can have them all in the same room at the same time. You're definitely going to have a big fight on your hand. But you can't really be alone with each one all at the same time. Well, Krishna is. He's alone, and each and every one of them thinks, I am Krishna's favorite queen. Sometimes there's a little pride there. And in this particular case, it's also there. Rukmini is thinking a little like this, and that's another reason why Krishna spoke the way he did. There was why he left the rasa dance. Because there's an apparent element of pride that I'm the special one. And so Krishna also, and he does that with neophytes like ourselves as well. When we start thinking we're the special one, then Krishna, if you're lucky, he does something to help deflate our false ego, if we're lucky. Takes away that cause, or let's say the reasons why we think we're the special one. So with Rukmini he did that a little bit too, although she was perfect in one sense, but still there was an element. It's only natural, there's nothing unnatural about that. In fact, Krishna created it by expanding himself like this. But it's all part of the pastimes, it's all part of this intense loving exchange going on here. He's saying, no other wife is as loving. Imagine how she feels now. No other wife is as loving as you, but he would say that to all the wives. So is that duplicitousness? It could be. But Krishna's entitled whatever he wants because it all flavors his loving exchanges with his devotees. Paratranaya sadhanam, please his devotees, his purpose. Not just because the reason he marries them all is to please his devotees. He didn't need to marry 16,000, 16 million, 16 billion. He doesn't need. But to please his devotees, loving exchange. When you were to be married, you disregarded all the kings who had assembled to seek your hand, simply because you had heard authentic accounts concerning me. You sent a Brahmin to me with confidential message. This again is, sometimes we feel like we're in a hopeless situation. Rukmini felt in a hope. She was the daughter of King Bhishmaka. There's a place called Nagpur. I don't know if you know Nagpur in India. I don't know if it still is. It was the capital of Maharashtra before. It's a big city, maybe 5 or 6 million people. And near there is a small place called Kundina. Kundina is the place where King Bhishmaka, that is, capital. He's very opulent. And there was Rukmini, was one of his children. He had several children. Rukmi was another one. Rukmini, Rukmavati, all the Ruks. They all named Ruk something or another. But Rukmini was his favorite daughter, and was also the favorite sister of Rukmi. So it was a kind of complicated issue because Rukmini was really envious of Krishna. He really envious of Krishna. Through and through. So it's kind of a little bit complex. Rukmini had arranged for Rukmini to marry Shishupal. And Shishupal was the avowed enemy of Krishna. So Rukmini wasn't very attracted to Shishupal. She's the eternal consort of Krishna. So now she's not attracted to someone who's inimical towards Krishna. And by Krishna's arrangement, Narada Rishi, of course, Narada Muni, always pops up. He's like the messenger, Krishna's messenger, whatever Krishna wants to deliver to someone. It's usually through Narada Muni that the message is delivered. He's a universal postman. You have postmen here? People who deliver the post? They have them or not? I've never seen one. Yes, they do. In the West, it's a big thing, postman, not so much now, but still there. They deliver your messages, the messages of someone. Nowadays, that's mostly done on on a media form. But then, old days, it was only a postman. If you wanted to contact somebody, there was very difficult to make a phone call. Most people didn't have phones. When I was a kid, I didn't know anyone who had a phone. Well, to speak of a mobile, I didn't know anyone who had one of these old phones. There were public phone boxes, but nobody had their own one. You had to pay, and it usually didn't work. And it was a real hassle making a phone call. Especially in Calcutta, it used to take a minimum 24 hours to make one phone call from the post office, from the telecommunications office. In fact, there was a revolution in Calcutta over the telephones. They attacked the telecommunications office in protest, maybe 50, 60 years ago. But so you had to write a letter, handwritten letter. There were nobody had a typewriter even. The letter would be handwritten. When I was a kid, we never used typewriters. Everything had to be handwritten. If you wanted to communicate with someone, you had to write to it. People didn't move around like they were nowadays. They usually stayed in the same place, so you knew their address. You'd write the letter to their address. The postman would deliver it. So, you hear something about something, is this true? And you write them a letter. So Rukmini has heard about Krishna through Narada Muni. And now his time is getting desperate. It's getting desperate. It's just a few days left before the supposed marriage with Shishupal. Supposedly. So she's desperate. So princess, so she has a lot of facilities. So she was able to send a message through a very reliable Brahmin to Krishna. And Krishna, receiving that message, of course, acted accordingly and kidnapped her. Came to Kundina, and right there, on the very day actually of the Swayamvar, when Rukmini was supposed to be married to Shishupal, Krishna suddenly appeared. This is another one of his statements that, just like a thief, I came and stole you, away, thief. You want to marry a thief? Criminal? So he came there and all the kings, knowing they weren't going to get her hand because it was already arranged with Shishupal, but they were there anyway, hoping, hoped that they might get her. She was the beauty queen, Miss Universe. He said that she is far more beautiful than Lakshmi Devi. You can't imagine what that's like. Beauty personified. Beauty personified. And everyone was completely overwhelmed just looking at her. They were like, their heads were spinning as she was coming out on the chariot from her palace. All the heads of the Kshatriyas were spinning. They were like, sometimes when you see a beautiful woman or a man who captivates the heart of the girl, their heads start to spin. Huh? You can't, it's just like you're knocked out practically. So everyone was so captivated, they didn't even notice that Krishna suddenly, nonchalantly just drove in there, grabbed Rukmini, put him on his chariot, and off he went. They hardly noticed it. It was like they were in this mesmerized, intoxicated condition. And then when they realized what's happened, of course, then they start to act. The nature of lust, become mesmerized, don't see Krishna. We don't see him. And even if he's there, we don't see him. We see his energy. We see his energy for my enjoyment. We're the thief. We're actually the thief. Everything is meant. One time one man was criticizing Prabhupada in front of Prabhupada. Krishna is, he's a debaucher. Look at this. He steals other people's wives. He tries to enjoy with other people's wives and so on. So many wives and what have you. Rasa dance and so on. And Prabhupada responded that man was a Hindu. He said, do you believe that Bhagavan is the supreme Godhead? Of course he is. You believe that he's the proprietor of everything? Of course he is. So then Prabhupada said, then you are the thief. Because if Bhagavan owns everything, that means your wife belongs to him, not you. And you are trying to enjoy your wife. So you are therefore a thief and a debaucher. That's the nature of this world. We all think this is mine, but this is, in material sense of the term, this is the mentality of a thief, a criminal. That's why we're in the prison of the material world. We haven't gotten to grasp fully that everything belongs to Krishna. And is meant for Krishna's pleasure. And Rukmini is the personification of this devotion. That everything, no matter what it is Krishna's. I can find no other wife as loving as you, O most respectable one. When you were to be married, you disregarded all the kings who had assembled to seek your hand, simply because you had heard authentic accounts concerning me. You sent a Brahmin to me with your confidential message. When your brother, who had been defeated in battle and then disfigured, was later killed during a gambling match, on Aniruddha's wedding day, you felt unbearable grief, yet out of fear of losing me, you spoke not a word. The mood of Radharani doesn't have, she does also, but her predominant mood is not exactly that. She acts in ways which would be enough to drive her lover away, insulting him, banning him from her association, attacking him. So many things. You could call it almost household abuse. But the opposite with Rukmini, absolute opposite. Krishna can do anything he likes. She's scared stiff of him leaving her. Scared stiff. Rukmini is like almost with a sticky, get out of here, you flaming debaucher, I don't want to see your face ever again, type of a mood. It's different, totally different, opposite to Chandravali or to Rukmini in this case. So she couldn't, she was scared if she said anything that Krishna might leave her. She was afraid, fear. Out of fear of losing me, you spoke not a word. And that was in the case of Rukmini when Krishna, tied him up, cut off half of his hair, making big insult to her brother right in front of her, in fact. So she was definitely grief-stricken. Krishna almost killed her, almost. She appealed, he retracted, but he then insulted her brother right in front of her. And she had a close relationship. Even her brother was envious of Krishna. There was some family relationship there. By this silence you have conquered me. And Krishna is conquered by the love of the devotees. He's not conquered by anything else. Not by wealth, not by any knowledge, austerity. Nothing conquers him, only love. Different moods of love. Here Lord Krishna refers to an event that will be described in the next chapter. Thus Krishna's talks with Rukmini must have taken place after the marriage of Aniruddha. Bhagavatam is not all in chronological order. To a large extent it is, but it's not following that path. The stories are told according to the mood, according to the need and the mood. And then, because of this pastime, then of course, the story of how Rukmini was killed will be described in the next pastime. Next chapter. When you sent the messenger with your most confidential plan, and yet I delayed going to you, you began to see the whole world as void and wanted to quit your body. It's like that, isn't it? Anticipation when a message is not coming. You need a message. It's not coming, you feel really, you start getting internal panic. Internal panic. I mean, you could probably give many examples. One just flew in my mind. You're at the airport. And so, like I was with one disciple in London, going through London one time. We were transiting in London. And the British government had just introduced a new law that even Europeans have to have an entry, some kind of entry visa, even if they're in transit in London airport, in case they walk out the airport. And I didn't know about this. So there we are, about to board the next plane, without knowledge of this. And, it's just, the minutes are ticking away, and you've got to apply online. So, is it going to come? Is it going to come? Is it going to come? And the minutes are ticking away, then all of a sudden, actually it was a lady behind the counter who did something on her computer and saw that, although it hadn't come, it had been approved, so he said, okay, you can go. But the anxiety you feel like that? Just over a flight, what to speak of one's lover, but over missing a flight you feel so stressed and anxiety. People fight it. I've seen people fighting in the airport over missing their flights. They hit the person on the counter. Boom, I just punched them. They wouldn't let them on the plane. They were like 1 minute late, the gate had just closed. Boom. Boom. So angry, so fried, Just over. We see people running like crazy for the metro in London. I don't know they're here, but in London, just to save 1 minute. There's another metro, 2 minutes later, another one comes, but they're pushing and shoving and fighting to get into the train. We're all like that, Anxiety, you're going to miss the train, miss this, miss that. So much anxiety. You can imagine how she felt. Sukadeva Goswami, it's a purport. Yeah. He began, which could never have been given. And I have to read that again. When you sent a messenger with your most confidential plan, and yet I delayed going to you, you began to see the whole world as void and wanted to quit your body. A girl like that, when a boy doesn't turn, they make a rendezvous time. Let's meet outside of Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme, Krispy Kreme, whatever you call it here. Shop. It's a special shop, sell donuts or something. Let's meet there. At 7 o'clock, the girl turns up. 7:15, the boy's not there. What's going on? What's happening? Where is he? Oh no, is he not going to come? Has he abandoned me? Has he met another girl? The mind of the girl goes, pooh, it's all crazy. Same with the boy, I suppose, it's the other way around. May this greatness of yours Prabhupada says that message could never have been given to anyone but, which could never have been given to anyone but me. The body. She wanted to give up her body, basically, if he didn't come. But that body could never be given to anyone else. It belongs to Krishna. She couldn't give it to anyone else, therefore she would have committed suicide if Krishna had not come. She couldn't offer it to anyone else. May this greatness of yours remain with you always. I can do nothing to reciprocate except joyfully thank you for your devotion. It's the same thing with the gopis. I have nothing to give you in exchange. Your love, you have to be satisfied with your love. But I can't reciprocate such love. I don't have the capacity. It's more than what I've got. Purport. Srimati Rukmini Devi had no intention whatsoever of accepting any other husband but Lord Krishna. And she stated in her message to the Lord, if I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall simply give up my vital force, which will have become weak from the severe penances I will perform. Then, after hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor, I may obtain your mercy. This establishes the unique glories of Rukmini Devi. There's no one, this is the one-pointed, pure devotion of Rukmini, fixed on Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami said, and so the self-satisfied Supreme Lord of the universe enjoyed with the goddess of fortune, engaging her in lovers' talks, and thus imitating the ways of human society. In the last verse of the chapter, the Almighty Lord Hari, preceptor of all the worlds, similarly behaved like a conventional householder in the palaces of his other queens, performing the religious duties of a family man. End of chapter. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Rukmini Devi ki jai. We start a new chapter tomorrow, but maybe we'll be here, I don't know. Let's see. Hare Krishna. It was getting a bit late, but if there's one question we can take if you want. Haridas.
Regarding faith in devotional service.
Fate. Fate. What do you mean by fate?
Yeah, I have a question about it. I've seen some devotees who are very sincere in their devotional service, and then somehow, because of what they experience within ISKCON, the devotees, somehow they lose their faith.
Faith. I thought you said fate. Faith.
Some they even left. So, so when these devotees are left, is it because of their karma or free will, or are we responsible for them leaving ISKCON or the community?
It's seen from different angles. As far as when we say ISKCON, let's say, what is ISKCON is a question mark. It's kind of like, it's not like a separate entity in one sense. It's a name given to a particular association of devotees. So if that association of devotees is somehow or another, and that particular devotee finds it in such a way that they can't bear that association, and they leave that association, which goes by the name of ISKCON, or any name, whatever it may be, and goes away, that association although it's very impersonal if they don't, it's not just like a box that you don't like, called ISKCON, which has some mechanical framework to it, of actions and reactions. It's made up of nothing but persons, of individual natures, but with hopefully a singular purpose in mind. And they'll see that at a neophyte stage from different angles. And the angles will not always be the same, and they'll be incompatible. So the whole, or let's say in the case of literally speaking, the leaders of ISKCON, as we call it, would take it upon themselves to question what was wrong that caused that devotee, not was wrong with them, but what was wrong with us to cause that to happen. That would be the proper approach. And how we can, encourage that devotee, serve that devotee, support that devotee to either come back in the Sangha or continue in a situation which is more favorable at that moment for them, and not discourage them. That would be the mood. Prabhupada always had that mood. Even one time he was with Shruti Kirti Prabhu, his servant, was massaging him, and one of Prabhupada's first disciples returned. He'd left. This devotee had left. His name was Gaurasundar. He'd left. He was Prabhupada's servant for some time also. One of the earliest disciples, did night service for a few years and he left. And he went back to his old ways. Why he left, I don't have exact answer to that. He was previously with a group of yogis in Hawaii, and they had their own kind of movement, and they went back and started their own movement again, for various reasons. Prabhupada always tried to keep them connected to ISKCON. So you can do your own program, you have your own temple, just please follow, still keep in touch, you're still part of this family. So he tried up to a large degree till they decided entirely to cut off, so to speak. This particular devotee actually came to see Prabhupada in Hawaii when he was there. And he came in, he had long hair and beard, and wasn't following much the principles. And he came in and he didn't really say anything. He came and said, "How are you, Swamiji?" Something like that. Real casual. Prabhupada kind of looked at him and didn't really say anything much. And it's obviously, he just, why he came, he probably just heard Prabhupada was there, he just wanted to go and see him. But he really didn't come for the positive intention. And he just looked at Prabhupada, said something like, "How are you, Swamiji?" and walked out. And Prabhupada said something to him. He said, "How are you, Swamiji?" And Prabhupada said, "What did I do that hurt you so much, that caused you to go like this?" "What did I do," Prabhupada said, "that caused you such pain," or whatever it is. And he just looked at Prabhupada and didn't say anything, just walked out. And Prabhupada said, just afterwards to Shruti Kirti, even though he's become so negative, almost demoniac, he said, "I still love him." There's the free will also of a living entity. That's the extreme case. And the case of devotees who continue are not like that. They're not necessarily envious, but they have some issues of some kind. The institution should still have the same approach. What is it? Where's our shortcoming? We may not be capable of bridging that gap. Limited. We're limited as the other devotees. We're not on that transcendental plane. Even devotees came and went like anything when Prabhupada was present. For various other reasons. Usually it was lust. Intensive lust, usually. And there were a few exceptions to that, but usually intensive lust. But in case of some institutional difficulty of some kind, authorities or policies or whatever it is, and we're not completely surrendered souls, they will sometimes leave and go and do separately from Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada's mood there was, as long as you can follow, still following the four regulated principles, chanting, he considered you were still part of the family, even if we're not institutionally labeled as such. And as far as the devotee is concerned, their faith in the institution may be, impaired by the situation. But again, we have to ask what the institution is. It's a very vague thing, not vague in one sense. What is ISKCON? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's a society, not a business. It's a society for Krishna consciousness. So your faith in society for Krishna consciousness is the essence. That may not be reduced, but if you're finding that that association is not in a neophyte stage or whatever we're in, facilitating our Krishna consciousness, then naturally doubts will occur. And one may search somewhere else. So it's the duty, was the main principle, the main purpose of this movement, is to facilitate the awakening of Krishna consciousness. It's not just to have numbers, build temples, make rules and regulations, institution is to actually awaken or give. It doesn't happen overnight. You walk in the door and say, why am I not Krishna conscious? I've been here 5 minutes. But at least it should be growth. We should understand the process. If we don't understand the process, we'll have a misapprehension for a start, and don't understand how it works. That's why reading Prabhupada's books, understanding at least the basics is important. Nectar of devotion, step-by-step progress. You have to see that. So unless one sees that, then naturally we can easily, our faith can be wavering. So why is that happening? Well, there's another aspect there, is the individual's free will. Using your common sense and intelligence, also we may make mistakes, but in one sense it's a mistake, or it's not a mistake. But who's to say what a mistake is? Krishna says. Krishna knows what your intentions are. When you said the word sincere, for instance, what defines sincerity? Is another, we could say, rather subjective word in one sense, unless there's reality understood behind it. But Krishna understands that. Nobody else can fully grasp that one, because we're not fully sincere. We also have some element of duplicity. So Krishna understands that this devotee is somewhat needs to go through a different experience in order to come to pure devotional service. It may be sometimes, we've seen it again and again, devotees in big positions in this movement, done phenomenal service, relatively speaking, and drift away. There's a barrier which has to be removed in order for them to come to perfection. So drifting away is a part of the removal of that barrier. It may take time. So from Krishna's point of view, one doesn't see anything negatively. One sees it as another stage of what's needed. They go to the Gaudiya Math, or they go to Ritvik, or they go here. Something they have to go through, although it may be painful, it may be creates friction, all kinds of things. Not that it should do that, but sometimes that happens. There's something the devotee has to go through. It may be favorable from the point of view of their progress, or it may not. It may be a realization which you have to go through to give up some kind of independent attachment we have. It may be. Eventually, it may take you a lifetime if you're not. It depends on the degree of one's surrender in one sense. How much we're really understanding the mission of the Lord and the will of the spiritual master. If we don't, then we interpret it in different ways. It's a very fine line. Every situation will be different. Every individual case. Krishna is dealing with every individual personally. It's like you're in a big position, just like here, Krishna is trying to remove any element, or at least showing others, in one sense. How can you say Rukmini has any element of envy or of pride, rather? But the principle is there, to remove the pride. So sometimes you may have a little pride there. Sometimes Krishna will put you in a position where that pride is fanned, and you feel even better about it. And then crash, everything collapses. And what happened? You start, and then things turn around again, and you start coming with a better approach, a more humble approach. And sometimes as a devotee, in a big position, a wonderful devotee, you could say, for whatever reason, there's some element of pride there, or something there which is not being dealt with. And then if the devotee falls down, even though he's in a big position of guru, GBC, sannyasi, whatever, because Krishna is not interested in you being a guru, sannyasi, GBC. He's interested in your love, pure, unadulterated love. This is the ultimate reason. What we see on this level may be some karma, token karma, let's say, or some misbehavior of the leaders, or you're envious, Prabhu, something, like that. But Krishna's seeing that there's a little blockage. I want to exchange pure love with this devotee. But there's a blockage there. I have to remove that blockage so the pure loving exchange can actually manifest without any conditions of any kind, in any circumstance. So the main thing is, from Krishna's point of view, institutionally we have to, that's part of our sacrifice, part of our, surrender, Prabhupada says, intelligence, to try to see how to improve the situation, to facilitate. From the individual's point of view, they're supposed to question their motives internally, though we may not do it immediately, but eventually we hope we do. And from Krishna's point of view, there's this removal of blockages. So if when devotees fall down from sannyas, get married, they're going to leave their body with this need anyway, to take birth again and have to get married again. But they go through it now. Whatever it is, it's part of this. You understand, it's part of Krishna's will. Part of Krishna's will there. So there's the individual will, the institutional will, Krishna's will, your friend's will, everything's acting. The will of others who are trying to draw you to them. See, there's will is there, free will. It's not karma exactly, although karma may seem to be playing its toll, but it's not. It's actually free will.
But sometimes devotees say, like, if I chastise you, it's your
karma. If I could what?
If I chastise you, it's your karma. Sometimes devotees say like that.
It's like karma?
If I chastise you, it's your karma, Prabhu. So some devotees will say like that.
It's your karma.
Yeah, it's your karma that you get offended or you get hurt by the devotee. Some devotees say like that.
No matter what it is, in spiritual life it's a token. Krishna uses, Sridhar Maharaj describes in his commentary, Krishna uses that. It's not exactly like a normal karma. Krishna may use your karma to achieve the ultimate purpose. Token. To remove the vestiges, any remaining desire which is opposed to pure devotional service, Krishna may use your karma like that and make you act in such a way. But it's not quite the same as a karmic karma. Karma is karma. It's anyone who takes the devotional service, Prabhupada clearly defines it. From that moment on, Krishna is directly arranging things for your eventual journey back to Godhead. But it goes through, you go on any journey, and sometimes, you're on the journey and you walk, let's say, at least if you're on a bicycle or walking, it's not so easy if you're on a plane, you don't have much choice. So you're walking along the road, whoa, you look in the shop over there, and it looks attractive, you go in somewhere, and sometimes you forget, you get captivated, you go into the shop and get enamored by what's in the shop, and you forget you've got to get to your destination by, oh my God, it's 5 to 10, I'm supposed to be there by 10, and suddenly wake up, But you get captivated for a while, It's like that on the journey of devotion. We get captivated. We still have that attraction for, donuts or something, whatever it is. It takes some time. We wake up. There's no loss on this path. No loss. It's painful. It gives you nightmares sometimes. But there's no ultimate loss. Like some of us, Where was I reading that today? Or someone said, I don't know. We have nothing. I mean, what do we have? Ultimately, everything else is going to be taken away. You have the holy name. Whatever helps us to take shelter of the holy name. And Krishna knows. It's not a position that you go back to Godhead. It's not by number of rounds that you go back to Godhead. It's not by your learning that you go back to Godhead. It's not by how many books you distill that you go back to Godhead. All that means no problem, it's all good. But it's by the pure devotion, the pure love. So if there's any pride or any attachment, save and accept pleasing Krishna's senses. Out of love, Krishna will arrange things. We may not understand it, but arrange circumstances to remove whatever is an impediment to pure love of God. Whatever it is. Whether it's position, whether it's, whatever. Everything, body, everything eventually. It's a very, you can't, vote on it and decide this is the reason. Every individual case is very personal. Very personal. Although we look at it from the institutional point of view as a fault, on the institutional point of view. The individual may see it as their own fault. Depends on what nature of the situation is. Every case is different. Some individual blame the institution, that's one of the most common things, which is really a barrier to pure devotional service. Even if it is because of the institution's incapacity or misunderstanding or short of the mark in being able to accommodate conditioned souls' needs, which it definitely is. The individual devotee, if he's sincere, will not see it like that. Sincere devotee will see the fault as their own. They may not be ready to submit to that situation. They see it's due to my own shortcomings, my own limitations, my own attachments, my own independence. I see it like that. But that may not, they can't, you're not written off if you don't have that mentality either. It's just a matter of time, that's all. When we do, when we realize that nobody else is at fault, as such, then one really starts to make progress, becomes less impeded by these situations. You can make more rapid progress, as long as we're not blaming any. The thing, even materially, there's a famous saying, you're never a loser until you start blaming others for your situation. Blaming others it's like a brick wall which we never can pass. As long as we're blaming others, you can make no progress. Simple. But it's a common thing. Bashing your head against the wall until we realize, wait a minute, all that's happening here is I'm getting a bloody head. You're getting 1 million votes on social media. Yes, you're right. Krishna's not impressed by that. You don't go back to Godhead by votes. Krishna consciousness does not spread by votes. Materially, it may seem like it is not. But unfortunately, in our day and age, the social media especially is very much kind of like influencing people like this. And missing the very purpose of our life. Self-justification is 100% barrier to advancement in spiritual life. Although it's going to be there, so there'll be other things too. In of itself, there'll be other things which are positive, obviously. But we should have tried to not make that our principle, even if we feel that we shouldn't make that our justification for our lives. But we should question ourselves As the institution questions itself, the individual should too. Even Krishna's in relationship with Rukmini, you could say she's questioning herself. He may be questioning himself. What have I done to upset Krishna like this? You know, what happened? Oh no. You know. Krishna says, you know, later on, what's that situation? Can't remember. Oh yeah. I think when Rukmini was crying one time, and Krishna says, is it because of those harsh words I spoke to you, my beloved? Is it because of those harsh words I spoke to you in this chapter here? Is it because of that? Please tell me, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Yeah. Interesting topic. But if it helps to bring us to Krishna consciousness, it's worth it. Even if you've fallen down into the mundane situation. It's not a good example to others, and therefore it's not good from that point of view, obviously, but from the absolute point of view, if necessary, you could just understand that we see things in relation with Krishna. He wants the devotee. He wants your love. He doesn't want your numbers. He doesn't want your position. He wants your love. That's how we see it. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.